Malopkin! Welcome to Jorge et al. In today's lessons we're going to talk about different ways to ask for names. I hope you enjoyed this video and let's go! Alright, so let's get started. The first question we have is Bishakaba, which means what is your name? It is important to notice that bish means how. A is a morpheme which means second person singular. And kaba is the verb to name, to be called. Then we have Jorge, which means I am George or I am Jorge. It is important to notice that the J somehow stands for Mr. and it is normally used before names, which is somehow similar to the way we use Mr. in English, but a little bit different because Mr. is normally used with last names or family names. But in this case we tend to use before names, personal first names. And then we have after Jorge, we have en. In this case, en means I. It is another morpheme that represents first person singular. So in this case, Jorge plus en means I am Jorge or I am George. Then we have Bishinkaba, which means what is my name? Well, it might not be a common question, but it can be used whenever you want to emphasize. For instance, somebody knows your name and this person mistakes you for someone else. So you might say, I'm sorry, what is my name again? You are not implying that you don't know your name. You just want to emphasize or reinforce that the other person is supposed to know your name. So in these cases, it's very common to use what is my name? Bishinkaba. And in this case, the answer would be Jorge, which means you are George or you are Jorge. Again, we have after the first name ECH in this case, which is another morpheme that means second person singular. And in this case, well, we need to, it works like a suffix which has to be added or has to be next to the first name. And again, we have the morpheme which is like a title. Then we have Bishukaba, which is third person singular. What is her or his name? It is important that in this particular question there is no specific gender, which in English would be his or her. This is the only third person singular question. And the answer would be Letier Jorge, which means his name in this case is Jorge or George. It is important to notice that the pronoun Letier is the third person singular pronoun for he or she. Then we have Jorge, which is, well, the first J is the title, and then we have Jorge, which is the first name. And in this case, as you can see, there is no extra suffix or morpheme added to the first name. Then we have Jorge Incaba, which means my name is George. Again, in this case, we have Jorge, which is my name. Then we have the morpheme representing first person singular, and then the verb kaba, which means to be called or to call. Then we have Jorge Akaba, which means your name is George. Again, the morpheme A represents second person singular, and the verb kaba, which means to be called. Jorge Akaba, which is like Jorge, you named, or you are named. Then we have Jorge Ukaba, which means his name is George. Again, in this case we have the morpheme U between the name and the verb to be called. which represents the third person singular. Maybe you are wondering how to use it in plural. For instance, we have Michetel Jorge Kaba. Michetel Jorge Kaba, which in this case means our names are Michael and George. We have the conjunction yetel. Yetel means and or with. In this case, it represents and. And then we have one k in the middle between Jorge and Kaba, which represents the first person plural and the verb Kaba. As you can see, the formation is very systematic. That makes the language not that hard to understand. Moving on, then we have Michetel Jorge Akaba Esho. Michetel Jorge Akaba Esho, which in this case, that means your names are Michael and George. As you can see, in this particular case, we not only have the morpheme A, which means second person, but we also have after Kaba the morpheme Esho, Esho, which means plural for this particular structure. Alright, I hope this video was interesting and productive for you. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave a like. I'll be checking the comments. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you soon.